For former orienteers, maps can be a great help in orientating them into finding their room. Just a hand-drawn map with the room, the nurse's station and the lounge can be a great help for people that are used to reading maps to be able to find their room. If they've belonged to, Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, if they've been on a farm, all those people have read maps. So having a map at hand in their room, a map they can carry with them, is often a very good way for them to be able to orientate to finding their room, because around 60% of people coming into dementia units cannot find their room. It is just too disorientating. Everything is too different. They're not familiar with the layout, where their room is, the long corridor, the staff, the nursing station, the routine. Everything's out of sync. And so things need to be put in place so that the person can start to orientate. Often what's a great help is that if they have a picture or a map as well of the country, their country here in New Zealand, and you in your country, having a map of the country and maybe a map of the province in the bedroom up on the wall, so the person can study it, look at it, learn, think, enjoy, and remember all the lovely holidays that they've had at the various places, and maybe a little cross or a sign as to where they've been before. And in that way they can remind themselves, engage themselves in their past history. So if the favourite beach here in New Zealand is Sumner Beach, so on the map, if they've got Sumner Beach, and they can look at that and read it in big letters that, Sumner Beach, holiday place, they can start to think about and remember it. It activates that past memory, just like a memory book does or photographs do. Now, I had a dementia resident who I helped a lot with direction orientation as a private patient as well. So I spent a lot of time with her, and she had really poor direction orientation, really poor. She was very fit though. She'd been remarkably athletic throughout her life and high achieving in so many sports. So she had balance, strength, fitness and motivation. But the disadvantage was that she had very high anxiety. Now this is not uncommon in dementia residents. 90% of dementia residents would have had anxiety at some time in their history of having dementia, and certainly coming into dementia units when you first come in, most people have anxiety, and a lot high anxiety. But this woman had actually had anxiety all her life, so that makes it even more difficult. And with that anxiety, she used to get spinning thoughts. She used to say, I'm spinning, or she used to say, fuzzy brain, fuzzy mind. So she'd get this high anxiety. Now, from having had anxiety as a lifelong condition anyway, so that's one platform or level, but then of course having dementia is so anxiety provoking, losing things, forgetting things, not knowing your way. I mean, all of it's anxiety fueling. So she was really anxious, and because of this anxiety and feeling unwell, nauseous, spinning, she didn't like crowds. Excuse me. She didn't like crowds. She felt claustrophobic and more anxious in crowds. And of course, a dementia unit is a crowd, isn't it? It's a whole lot of people, which she had to be amongst for both breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it was really traumatic for her. So to be able to stabilize, the only thing that stabilized her was to lie down for half an hour or an hour to settle herself. And then sometimes, 50% of the time, she'd be motivated to do her direction orientation practice to find her room, which she was very good with when she was onto it and up to it, but only 50% of the time she could manage it. So it was a very time-consuming process. But anyway, the main thing that helped with her was the little map. I had the nurse's station, and then the picture of the red roses by the nurse's station, which was a key feature. Her room, third on the right after the nurse's station, and the number of that, say 158, and then the dining room where she used to sit for meals. So we just practiced that track back and forward with all the signposting and going along the rooms for her to read out the names and the numbers until she got to her own. But the little map that she used to read when she was lying down on her bed, she found the most useful. She'd been a Girl Guide, she'd had a farm, she loved orienteering, and that map was a saving grace for her and worked very well. And I had to colour and read the red roses, and she'd go to the red roses and know then she was at the nurse's station, not far to the lounge. So this is how maps can help, along with practice, to find rooms for, direction orientation for dementia residents, to find their rooms in dementia units. So I've written up all this in these 2 books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, and both on Amazon and my website, description below. Thank you for your support, and please subscribe.